Hey, good morning, good day, and good evening to everybody who tuned in to our webinar. We are here in freezing Siberia with a warm welcome to all you who wanted to learn something new today. Sorry for a bit of a delay. We have our new shiny microphones that are gonna improve our sound quality, and let's get going straight away. This webinar is about something special this time. We usually do webinars about our network equipment and some sort of physical devices. This time around is about a software solution which is intended to improve network security. You may have heard about NAC system. NAC is short for Network Access Control, and NAICE, following this pattern, is short for Network Access and Information Control Engine. So it does sound similar to NICE in the sense of good or good looking, and it is a semi-intentional play on words in this case. My name is Alexey Maslov. I'm a product manager at International Sales Department at Eltex. I am responsible for Ethernet switches, service routers, and video surveillance. And next to me is Evgeniy Klimkin, who is a QA team lead at NICE department and at Eltex. So without further ado, I'll let Evgeniy do the talking and tell you what NAC is used for.
The general purpose of NAC system or Network Access Control System is a central point of control of accessing to the network resources. As you can see at this simple scheme, there is a lot of type of devices and we support the radius protocol to authenticate users and user devices by .1x protocol methods and by MAC AUF bypass, which supported for devices which don't support .1x. And also we support TACAX plus protocol, which allow it to control the activity of network device administrators when they have to set some settings at the network equipment during the administration of network.
Thank you, Evgeny. Next, let's talk about why we need a NAC system in general. First and foremost, it is for enhanced security. So similarly to the day-to-day life where you probably wouldn't open your door to everybody who just knocks in, you first want to authenticate them. You want to ask who they are. If someone knocks, you either check your video camera or ask who are you. Similarly, in the network, you wouldn't want to just authorize and authenticate everybody. You want to prevent malicious devices, malicious users, unknown users from entering your network. So this is the primary purpose of network access control. Role-based access management. This is a great tool for grouping your users and assigning their permissions based on those groups or based on those roles rather than individually. So it's a great way to simplify the setup. Control. This is where this standard 802.1x or just .1x comes into play. This is a great tool for network administrators to specify who does what on the network and how they can do it. Real-time visibility. This also very important. It is actually a set of tools, things like connection journal and accounting, that allows you to see what's happening on your network in real time, what devices, including Internet of Things devices are connected to the network, what users are connected, and what they are up to. And regulatory compliance, it's especially important when you are dealing with projects where security is paramount. It usually happens in government projects, in financial projects, in military types of projects, and you are required by the compliance to have a NAC system in place, and in this case NAICE may be the solution. And next we will talk about main features of Eltex NAICE.
Let's look at the scheme and imagine that there is no any NAC system in network. It's the usual thing, and this scheme is shows the typical commercial network. In this case there is no any authentication of wired devices at all, and everybody can bring at work its own devices and do what he wants. And usually it uses very simple authentication methods for wireless devices like WPA with one simple password which known to all. But if we use network access control system, we can set up the radius protocol to authenticate wired and wireless users, which allowed us not only to authenticate, it allowed us to put them to different VLANs, to put them different ACLs based off network users group and other attributes. It's allowed us to use captive portal authentication on wireless network, and also it's allowed us to control the actions of network device administrators using protocol TACAX+. All this information is going to NAICE during these actions, and you can see these things in one central point, and that's not at all. Also, we can go for identities information to Microsoft Active Directory or LDAP identity sources, and not to save them in the NAICE and duplicate in both different systems. Also, we have integration with SMS gateway, which allowed us to authorize users on captive portal via SMS. And at the end of all of that, we can send all of logs of those activities to SIEM system or every other log collector using protocol CEF, Common Event Format.
Thank you, Evgeniy. Yeah, this is a very nice diagram showing very diverse network and highlighting that NAICE being the central point of authorization for the whole network. But my question is, does NAICE only support Eltex equipment?
No. NAICE support every equipment which supports radius and TACAX protocols, because these widely used and widely spread protocols which supports every network equipment in nowadays. Let's look looks policy-based management. We can use conditions to make segmentation of pipeline of authorization for our network with looks radius policies. We, during our demonstration with real stand, go deeper to how it works. Also, we have flexible integrations with external identity sources like Microsoft Active Directory and LDAP.
Actually, I wanted to add something here. If you previously used some sort of management tools from Eltex, you may see that the user interface of this may be familiar to you, and the reason behind that is the UI follows the UI of our other management system like ECCM, VWLC, Peeper, etc. So basically we wanted to do unified interface, and if you have experience with working with Eltex management systems, you have no issues switching between them because your user interface will be natural and familiar to you.
The next very popular feature, the supporting of TACAX Plus. This allowed us to control the actions of device administrations on network equipment during the making some settings of this network equipment or any other activities. It's allowed us to use full functionality of TACAX Plus. Also, we support captive portal authorizations, like you can see in these slides. We support registration via SMS, which approves phone number, and also we can authorize users via some credentials which can be get from NAICE internal database or supported with authentication on portal from external identity sources like Active Directory or LDAP.
Quick question, Evgeniy. When you log into captive portal from your mobile device on wireless network or from your laptop, can the appearance of the portal be customized?
Yes. When I support few portals, you can add different portals and you can different customizing these portals. We looking for this process during working with real stand.
Thank you.
The redundancy of network access device system is a very important thing, and as you can see at this scheme, for redundancy scheme we use 4 nodes, 2 nodes used for PostgreSQL working in cluster, and 2 nodes used for NAICE. Both NAICE nodes works in active redundancy scheme, and we used virtual IP address which can migrate between these nodes, and this allowed us to use only one IP address at the settings in network devices and quickly change during the failure one of nodes.
Thank you, Evgeniy. And now it's time to take a look at the demo of the real installation of NAICE.
Okay, let's look for real installation. By default, using credentials admin, we go to NAICE and see the main page, which shows the diagram of activity in system. You can see some successful connection, failed connections, and some aggregate information. At left menu placed the access to different settings of NAICE, and I want to show the main settings with network device access, network access, and device access. We responsible for control radius authentication and TACAX authentication. Go deeper in our policies and looks like they works. In this screen you can see the main radius policies. We can use a few radius policies. We can make different conditions in these policies. After the receiving of radius access request packet, we became processed from these policies from top to below. After receiving packet from some radius device, we can understand from this device we receive it. All devices placed here, and all them have been added to NAICE. And we can use different attributes and conditions. For example, device attribute, we can appoint device location, device profile, device type, model name, and make some custom group attributes which can use in settings of every device. We can use normalized radius, which attributes we get from radius attributes, but not with directly radius attributes. We can detect authentication protocol, for example, or can detect flow type. Flow type is means wired, wireless connections, .1x authentications, or MAC auth bypass. Also, we can use SSID if we work with wireless equipment. But we can use radius attributes too. We have all modern radius dictionaries from all vendors. And for some situation, we can use internal radius attributes. And as you can see in this policy, we mentioned that device should be from location with and supports with device profiles.
Yeah, this is great. I wonder, when you set up the policy, can you specify in which VLAN, for example, we put the user once they authorize?
Yes. After we get into some policy where we can go to this policy by pressing this button, and then this policy we setting up authentication policy and authorization policy. In authentication policy, we appoint identity source from which we want to get to check credential of users, and the next authorization policy. And in authorization policy, we can, using by authorization profiles, appoint which VLAN and which ICL we put after the success authorization. And in policy elements, we can appoint how to work. We can appoint VLAN, we can appoint filter name, it about the name at ICL, which should have be pre-configured on network devices. And also we can appoint advanced attribute settings. In this tab we can set all radius attribute which we will send to device which authenticate users after in access accept. In this example, you can see the dynamic ICL for devices Eltex MES. For other devices, it can be setting up by different way. And this the little brick which we can use in our policy configuration here. And if there is no matching policies for access request, it's going to default policy set, which by default prohibit any authorization, and the user would not be allowed to connect to network independently, have he right credentials or wrong. Go to monitoring. Here we can see our attempts to authorize via radius protocol. We can put and look deeper to authorization. Here we can understand which policy set use, which authentication and authorization policy use during authentication, and which authorization profile used to authorize this client. Here we can see authentication detail. In other attributes, we can see all attributes which we received by radius, And here, in result, we can see which radius attributes we send to network devices. Here you can see how looks the VLAN attributes in default configuration. Here we can add network access user. We can make some groups for these users, put in these groups, but the usual thing when we can use some integration with external identity sources. Here the settings for connection to Microsoft Active Directory, how it looks. We can get attributes from Active Directory like groups or some user attributes and use them in condition. And all these external identity sources is put into identity sequences. Identity sequences allow us to use a few identity sources. For example, we can use internal database and we can use Active Directory identity source. And if we don't found user in internal DB database, we go to next, to Active Directory. Let's look to portal configuration. Oh no, I want to say about one important thing. Here we can see the wired MAC auth bypass authorization, how looks policy for MAC auth bypass, and
regarding MAB or MAC authentication bypass, we all know that changing MAC address is fairly easy. Is there a way to catch that?
Yes, there is a way to catch that. There is a functionality which called profiling. We support profiling by MAC ORI and with usually MAC vendor. And we support profiling by DHCP probes. Here you can see the profiling conditions. How we get DHCP probes? Any attempt of authorization of any endpoints, we can get the MAC address of this endpoint from attribute calling station ID, and when we make some settings in our network equipment, that after trying to get access DHCP discovery, the NAICE is received this packet, and we can see this here in endpoints. Let's look deeper in sessions, and I find endpoints with some, yes, here is it. Copy to clipboard, go to identity management, and we can easily filter these endpoints by MAC address. And here we can see our endpoint. And here we can see the probes which we receive from this endpoint by DHCP protocol, like parameter list, class ID. You can see this Eltex media devices and other attributes. All those attributes we can use in our profile conditions to detect the special behavior of endpoints and make policies. Here the policy for Eltex devices, which based on only MAC OI. And here we make some more complexity policy. For example, this policy is allowed to detect Eltex VP phones. Here we have example with condition for VP15 and VP12, and all the matching of this condition increase certainty factor. We sum of all these matches and compare with minimal certainty factor with appointed in policy. Here we can profile it both phones, and why we have the certainty factor 13. After the profiling, we make the set of policy to this endpoint, and we can appoint in policy the group of endpoint in which we put this endpoint. Also, we have logical profiles which allow us to make from different policies some summary logical profile which allow it to use in radius policies. For example, here we have different policies for identity logical profile media, for different endpoint groups, manual edit, Eltex, and for our IP phones logical profile, and put them all in different VLANs and use the different ICLs for those devices. And also, if we don't want to use profiling, we can go to endpoint and set manually its group and the profiling policy. And this how we can prevent the changing of MAC radius, because after receiving the new DHCP probes from other devices, we make set to him another profiling. By default, this would be unknown, and we not allow it to authorize from such kind of devices.
Well, thank you. This is great. This is really advanced.
Let's go to portal. Here we can see the settings of guest portals. We can make a few portals. We can appoint not only one authentication method in portal. Here the primary method, the registration via SMS, and the secondary login password, but we can use only one of them. Also, we support the integration with different SMS gateways, and we have a demo gateway built in NAICE, which allowed us not to use any integration with real SMS gateway during the deploying the system, and we can use such kind of events in our system events. Here we can see how demo SMS looks. Here, yes, what that, and we can say the technique near access point, the SMS code, which he entered in the portal. We can customize the view of portal, change all these settings, change palette and colors, change background, make your own background, make your own banner. Also, we support in our portal 2 languages, Russian and English, and it can be customized by both languages, common information, and all other information settings, and user agreement. It can be customized too. Here we can see the users who authorize via SMS, and here we can add users to authorize on portal by login password. In this tab we can see the guest endpoints. This is the users who have successfully authorized, and after the guest endpoints is not deleted from here by tuning of portals or by manual action of administrator of NAICE, the user after the authorization on the same SSID would not see portal. This allows it to easy to go through authorization from different access points without needing of authorizing of every of them.
Thank you, Evgeniy. I have a quick note here. So if you need help configuring this portal or any other setting here, I see at the bottom left there is a documentation link. Is it gonna help me?
Yes, every page have a context documentation. By pressing this link, you can get full description of tunings of this page and the settings which would be able to do in this page, and full description of all actions and buttons. And this documentation is built in NAICE and do not demand any connection to internet. It gets from NAICE server directly. And as you can see, for example, if we go to guest endpoint, we can see the documentation which describes guest endpoint. We can go to our notification gateways. For example, here the notification gateway which integrated with SMSC, with popular Russian SMS servers. We use HTTP, HTTPS methods to integrate with SMS gateway, for example, get, post, put, and we can appoint variables, headers, request body. All this depend from the demands of a special vendor of owner of this SMS gateway. And we can see the documentation of tuning for SMS gateway too.
So it's like a built-in offline contextual documentation for the whole system.
Yes, for all system, and it's translated for both languages, for Russian and for English. Next very important thing which I want to point your attention, the TACAX Plus protocol. This is the separate protocol. He have its own settings in our system, but it works like radius policies. Here we can see policy for TACAX protocol. As you can see, we can use the same attributes like device location, profile, type, device address, and TACAX attributes. I think all understand we cannot use radius attributes here. And we have special policy elements for TACAX. For example, TACAX profile. Here we can appoint the privilege level of the after authorization on device, and the maximum privilege level which allow it to increase by device administrator using enable command.
This is great. So is my understanding correct that you can also authorize commands on the network device from here?
Yes, we support authorization of commands. Here we have a special tab for this, TACAX Plus command set. Here we can make command set which works in two modes, the white and black. By default it's prohibit any commands among which directly allow it in configuration, or we can use it to change this behavior to allow it any commands, unknown commands, and ban some commands to make on network equipment. And here you can see that we can appoint command and its arguments. You can use regular expression in these commands, and this command set is showing the next restrictions. We allow it on our device Eltex MES to log in on it, to make command show running config for some interface, allow it administration to make some configuration changes, but we allow it administrator only to go into interface gigabit Ethernet from white to 24, and on this interface we allow it only to make commands switch port, port security, shutdown, description, and save this configuration, and no one more. And this like it looks in policies. We go to, we appoint the authentication policy. We can use a few authentication policies if we want and separate them by attributes. And here we, for users from internal DB from group TACAX admin, we allowed them to log in to device with maximum privilege, but we restrict the commands by our command set. And here the users, we can use attributes from external identity sources. With from Active Directory we use group TACAX admin, and we allow it to do any commands for these administrators. TACAX Plus have separated monitoring tab. Here we can see what happens in our network. For example, we can see watch commands the users do and watch commands they try to do. We can go deeper and we can see which command was prohibited by command set, and the user try to make command.1export control alter, and we can see which the user this was, on which device he tries to make this action, and from which remote address he tried to log in and make this command in our device.
Hey, can we send these commands to third-party
yes.
system as well?
Yes. All this information which we can see in monitoring tabs, we can send to different log collectors. For example, here you can see the settings for log collector. Here we appoint the IP address, port, protocol, and the type of events which we want to send to this log collector or SIEM system. For example, radius authentication, TACAX authentication and authorization, and also we can send the action of NAICE administrators when they making some changes in system. And we can appoint a few log collectors and send different events to different log collectors.
Thank you. That's great. And yeah, I see. And from here, my question is: is there a way to use attributes from Active Directory or LDAP in policies?
Yes, we support this ability. For example, we can go to our Active Directory and get from it some attribute like user groups. For example, we can save it in NAICE, and they can be used like attributes in conditions. Here we have some saved attributes. And next, we can use attributes which we can get from user and save it in our system. And we can use not only the attributes, we can use the values from Active Directory. For example, how we can use it? At first, we can use in radius policies. For example, here we authorize users in this authorization policy by using the Active Directory attributes. Here we can use more attributes like identity and LDAP, and for example, default Active Directory groups. We can appoint any attributes of groups which we save from Active Directory, and here we allow it to authorize only users who have group staff or group contractors. And the same way we can use it in LDAP. In policy, in authorizations profiles, we can use the getting from LDAP or Active Directory the value of attribute. For example, here we can use the value of attribute for VLAN and we can get the attribute we can use like name of ACL. And it can be different for different users in Active Directory. Okay, let's return
to our presentation and share with you some of the exciting announcements and information about how you actually can get the system tested at your premises. So regarding our roadmaps, regarding our plans for this year, first quarter is nearly finished. We have less than a month left for the first quarter, and we are about a week away
Yes,
from releasing version 1.1, I believe.
Yes.
For this version and this quarter, we are planning to add the ability to log in via Active Directory or LDAP and use role mapping for accessing NAICE, not only for network management, network access management, but also so you don't need to keep another set of credentials in NAICE for NAICE administrators. You can use LDAP for authorizing into NAICE. Email server integration, this is self-explanatory, I think. It is integration with email server to allow you getting email notifications about specific events. And Peeper integration, this may be a little bit new for you, specifically the word Peeper. This is our own fairly new addition to management system set. It is our management system for self-monitoring for Eltex products. Currently it supports ECCM and some of the VLC for wireless network management systems, but we are planning to add NAICE there, and this will allow you to get this system. Basically what it does, it monitors the health of the server and the health of the monitoring system installed on it, and gives you warnings, all the statistics, all the monitoring, some of the alerts should something go wrong or about to go wrong in the system to prevent failures and emergencies. So it's a great self-monitoring tool from Eltex.
In second quarter of 26 years, we planning support two-factor authorization for administrators of NAICE, which allow it to use two different types of identity verification. Also going to support portal voucher. This is a special type of limited account which allow it to set up at the beginning and ending date, and this very demanding feature to our customers who wants to get some temporary access for some users to its network or to internet via portal, but do not forget to turn off these accounts after the ending of activity of these users. Also, we planning to make more complexable and deeper logging of portal events of successful and failed authorization and other attempts of actions in portal. The next goal, supporting of EAP TTLS authentication protocol, and also we planning to support OVA and QCO2 images for deploying NAICE in reservation scheme. Nowadays is allowed to deploy NAICE in reservation scheme only via using playbooks which you must run by Ansible tool.
In the second half of the year, we are planning to introduce posturing in NAICE. Posturing is a common concept where for, I'd say, a little bit more secured systems when you require from the endpoints, from the devices that connect to the network, to have installed specific agent, specific app that that checks the whether or not they have specific level of network, specific level of security in order to enter the network. So this app, either a mobile app on wireless devices or a desktop app on your laptop, once you connect to the network, checks some network parameters, some security level, in order to verify that it matches the security level in the network. Otherwise, the connection will be declined. Change of authorization and quarantine. These concepts are for active connections. When device gets compromised, the active connection also may change the level of authentication. The level of authorization to specific places in the network. So you can even move the device to the quarantine in order to stop them from accessing sensitive areas in the network. EAP, TAP, and EAP fast protocols, they're a little bit more secure. We're adding them for user authorization. And sponsor portal, this is yet another tool for network administrator in order to approve approve login to the network for users. So they have this nice visual tool when you can see who is attempting to connect to the network and decide whether or not you want to approve this action and let them in, or decline it.
Looking at the fourth quarter of this year, the first very important goal of this quarter is supporting of geo-distributed redundancy system deploying of NAICE, which allow it to deploy a few nodes of NAICE and few nodes of PostgreSQL cluster, not only two like now, and which get our ability to place it in different data centers and increase the stability level and the protecting of data in our system. Next goal, supporting BIOT devices, which going from previous quarter, because the posturing is allowed us to make this functionality, and we planning to increase and improve the abilities of posturing in this quarter.
Thank you. And here we have licensing. What you want to consider in order to get the system licensed for your network. There are a few questions that we as sales managers or pre-sales managers would ask you when quote you with the license. First and foremost would be how many endpoints does your network require. So what is endpoints? At endpoint is a physical device that had been successfully authorized within the last 24 hours in the network. Why it is important to understand what it is? Because it differs from the concept of user. One user may have more than one endpoint. Obviously, with a mobile phone, tablet, laptop, one user may have 3 or more endpoints, and each of them will be charged for separately. But again, it only counts logins within 24 hours. Every 24 hours, the counter resets, and you need to authorize again for this endpoint to count. Next question: do you need captive portal for your network? Captive portal, we had shown this before. It is for authorization of users, but it only relevant for wireless networks. Some of the countries and some of the premises like hotels or cafes would be great examples that require authorization before you share public Wi-Fi, and captive portal is a great way for the user to supply their credentials or supply their phone numbers, authenticate, and only then get authorized to the network. Again, if it's a corporate and you don't need authorization to connect on the premises, or you don't have wireless networks, you probably won't need that, and you'll get away with only using basic license type. You don't need advanced. Advanced is the one including captive portal. Then whether or not you need TechX Plus support. TechX Plus, as we had shown, is a great protocol supporting command authorization on the devices and overall expanding the functionality of network access control system, but not all the networks require that. You can save quite a bit on the license if you don't need TechX Plus protocol, but it is supported. And last but not least, whether or not you need redundancy. Redundancy does add about 30% to the license cost. Again, we're going to calculate this for you and discuss these questions in more detail if required. But basically, we tend to be a little bit more flexible on the when it comes to cost for software licensing than compared to when it comes to the cost of equipment, and we may add we can discuss that if, for instance, you are getting not only our management system but also a whole lot of equipment. So this is discussable, and again, if you want to trial the system before you want to buy a license, you're more than welcome to contact us and get a trial license. Do you have anything to add about licensing?
Yes, I want to point where how licensing works for demo mode and for all of words. At first, I want to say we have a free way of checking of license. The first way, we're checking of license in our Eltex license management, which placed in our organization, with online method. If you don't have any internet connection with usual thing, you can place this Eltex license management in your equipment and use it in a gap scheme. This Eltex license management demand to get an USB token. And the third method is file licensing. In file licensing, we get the shape of hardware characteristics, and with linking the license for the special hardware, and if you migrate this machine, you have to get a new licensing. And we have a demo mode, which we look in real stand how it works. Here we have a button licensing, yes, and after the installing the system works in demo mode. In this mode, there is no any restriction for functionality. It's enabled portal, it's enabled TechX, and before we setting some commercial license, it's don't have any time limits. But the demo mode is have next restrictions. You connect only the 15 network devices. You can have only 15 unique endpoints per day, and you can have only 15 guest endpoints. This allows it to test the system as long as you want without any restrictions, but make not possible to use it in commercial scheme. And now I show how looks the system after activating the licensing. Here the license have been added and successfully activated on our license server. The status active, the host name, product ID, and you can see the license have a level advanced, expired date. There is no any limitation for network devices. The limitation for unique endpoints per day 10,000. We have now only 2 which we used in use, and there is no limitation for guest endpoints, and the TACAX plus option is enabled.
Thank you, Evgeny. I would like to add, when it comes to licensing, that it is subscription-based, meaning that you need to renew subscription every year. And the way to get your hands on the system would be to use our instructions on how to install it from our website. You can either scan this QR code that is gonna take you directly to the files and downloads section of the NAICE page on our website, or directly you can just navigate to eltex-co.com and click NAICE in the management systems section of the website. As Evgeny highlighted, out of the box you'll get the system even without adding a license with only 15 endpoints, which is good enough if you have a handful of pieces of equipment like access points. But if you want to try it on a bigger, larger setup of on your network, you probably want to contact us at foreign.sales at eltex-co.com, which is an email for our international sales department, and we will be happy to get a testing license for you for a specific period, for a specific number of access points, and you can try it on your installation. And this is about it, what we wanted to tell you during this section. The last page, the last section here would be Q&A. Please allow us to bring the chat. And I already see that our moderator had a good job of answering the questions that we had received. Yeah, I see a question that I can answer. This is related to advantages that NAICE has compared to open source solutions. This is a good one. And I'd say that advantages are not, there are open source NAC solutions out there, of course. I'm not going to go deeply into technical differences between them. The general approach for open source systems is that they have a few drawbacks compared to the management systems that come from a manufacturer like Eltex. First and foremost, that with NAICE we have a predictable roadmap and predictable life cycle of the solution. That means that we're not going to drop it, we're not going to drop the support, and we are planning ahead our development cycle, and we are announcing what features are going to be implemented at what point of the development. This may be a little bit harder with open source when you don't have quite a clear roadmap. Another point is technical support. Again, it may be a little bit tricky with open source system. With Eltex, we have different tiers of technical support, and it's guaranteed. Of course, with free tier of technical support, you won't be getting immediate reply. You may be getting immediate reply, but we have SLAs on getting back to you with engineers. But you are definitely going to get help with using Eltex service desk or other means of technical support. And last but not least, with open source solutions that may be a little bit difficult at times to get the solution installed and integrated into your project on your network. With Eltex, we have quite a bit of documentation. Some of it we had shown already, and the idea here is that we're keeping the documentation up to date, and we also have a wide network of partners who can help you with integrating this solution. So you may use the help of our engineers, or you may get one of our partners who is qualified to get the system installed. And Eltex also has Eltex Academy. I don't think we have courses on this specific management system just yet, but we definitely have plans on getting courses on NAICE and extending our portfolio of courses at Eltex Academy. What else do we have?
Next question. If NAICE supports certificate-based authentication, EAP TLC, can we use our corporate certification authority? Yes, for both. At first, NAICE supports EAP TLC authentication, and the main scheme of using this method is meaning that you used your own corporate certification authority. And I want to mention it, if you work with Microsoft Certification Authority, we support the checking of validity of certificate via OCSP protocol, which allow it in real time to check the validity of certificate.
Thank you. Yeah, it looks we covered it all in our web chat. So I think this is it pretty much for this webinar. Again, sorry for this little delay at the beginning, and if you need recording, I believe this is going to be saved on our channel, Eltex World, and we are looking forward to seeing you on our next webinars. We have a few of them planned, and if you have any suggestions for the webinars for the future, more than welcome to share them.
Thank you for all for visiting or inviting in our webinar.
And yeah, hopefully to see you among our customers. Thank you.